Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? So last night, as the Saints were seeing their record plunge to 2-5, losing to the Cardinals, we got news from Adam Schefter and others that Christian McCaffrey was being traded from Carolina to San Francisco. And there's a bevy of picks involved. San Francisco sending a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5 to Carolina for Christian McCaffrey. And as the Saints fell to 2-5 and the reality of this situation starts settling in on everyone, a lot of Saints fans started blowing up my mention, saying, hey, time to blow it up. Let's trade players for draft picks and sort of start over. And in theory, that's a great idea. It's a great idea. It's also not possible for the New Orleans Saints because of how the Saints have structured contracts and restructured contracts for the last half decade or so. The Saints have been in perpetual win-now mode. We talk about this every year. They've been in perpetual win-now mode, and as a result, have essentially bought on credit, and now the bill is due. Brad Spielberger from Pro Football Focus tweeted this, and this is the reality of the situation. Saints, 2-5. No 2023 first-round pick or a 2024 second-round pick. $54 million over a projected $225 million cap in 2023 with just 36 players under contract. Again, you're $54 million over with 36 players under contract. More or less don't have a quarterback. Two of their best players on defense will be 34 in 2023. Other than that, roster construction approach is totally sustainable. That's the reality that the Saints are facing. And that is the cost of being in perpetual win-now mode. Now, I want to be very clear. It would be so hypocritical of me to sit here today and criticize the way the Saints have done business. Because every year, whenever people say they're in cap hell, and say, no, they're not, they'll just restructure deals and get within cap compliance, and they'll move on and win games, which they've done. The problem is eventually that bill comes due, and it's due right now. And if the Saints had won, none of us would care. But they didn't, and that's why it stings. See, the Saints went through their back-to-back-to-back 7-9 seasons in 2014, 15, 16. And then they hit on that 2017 draft. They went to the playoffs in 17. And think about it. Michael Thomas was a second-year player. Lattimore was a rookie. Ramczyk was a rookie. Kamara was a rookie. Marcus Williams was a rookie. Trey Hendrickson was a rookie. And you had all of these great young players to build around. And you had an aging Drew Brees, and you knew he had a closing window. So the Saints just did whatever they had to do to win now. And they came close. You had the Minneapolis Miracle. You had the Nola no call. The disappointment of losing to Minnesota in the Dome with the Kyle Rudolph push-off. And then you're right there in 2020 when Brees came back. And you beat the Bears. You had the home game against Tampa, and you lost. And that was it. That was it. Now Brees is gone. Now Peyton's gone. And that bill is due. The Saints, when they lost in particular to the Rams in the Nola no call, Saints were like a gambler. You've seen this at casinos. It's the gambler that gets way, way, way up and then loses it all. And they just keep going back to the ATM over and over and over, trying to get it back in a hurry. And what they end up doing is losing more and more and more and more. And that's where the Saints are right now. They're that gambler that came so close, that was way up, lost it all, and just kept going back to the ATM. And now you're in an even bigger hole. So it would be so hypocritical of me to sit here today it would be so hypocritical of me to sit here today and criticize the way they did business because I was okay with it because I understood what they were doing. They were trying to win a championship. Denver did the same thing. Denver did the same thing with Peyton Manning. They mortgaged their future to win now. They went to 2 Super Bowls, and they won one of them. They lost to Seattle, and then they beat Carolina. Nobody in Denver will complain about the way they did business because they hit. The Saints didn't. And that sucks. So to bring it back to the current point, because I had so many people, hey, man, they need to trade Michael Thomas. Okay. We're going to look at this. You and me together right now, we're going to look at this. I'm going to explain to you why this isn't possible. First of all, if you're saying, trade Michael Thomas, put yourself in the shoes of your trade partner. Do you want Michael Thomas? I mean, you're sitting here, you want to run this guy out of town, so who wants him? A receiver that's approaching 30 years old, whose body is breaking down on him, who hasn't played in 2+ seasons, really. And this is the bigger kicker, is this contract. And it's not just that the Saints signed him to a big contract, but when they restructured it, it's how they did it. Michael Thomas has a $38 million dead cap hit this year, meaning if Michael Thomas is not on the Saints roster, he counts $38 million against cap. Next year, his dead cap number is $25.4 million. If the Saints got rid of Michael Thomas, he would count $25.4 million against the salary cap. Remember, I just told you the Saints are $54 million over the cap right now. So you're going to have a player count $25 million against the cap that isn't even on your roster? Oh, by the way, his cap hit, if he is on the roster, is $28 million. So you would have, if you want to trade Michael Thomas, you have to find an NFL team willing to give you an asset, give you something of value, draft pick player, whatever it is, to take on a 30-year-old receiver who hadn't played in 3 years, whose body's breaking down on him, and who's going to cost him $28 million this year and $27 million, $28 million in 2023 and $27 million in 2024. Would you do that deal? You're stuck. You're stuck with Michael Thomas. Let's look up Marshawn Lattimore. And this is the problem, because the Saints have done this with all of their players, and I get why they did it. Again, I'm not criticizing. It was the way that they felt they had to go about trying to maintain their roster and win a championship. Marshawn Lattimore. If you traded Marshawn Lattimore, his dead cap number, meaning he would count, even if he's not on the roster, he would count $43 million against your cap next year. And the following year, $20 million. And in 2025, $12 million. It doesn't become palatable to get rid of Marshawn Lattimore until 2026, where his cap hits $23 million and his dead cap number is $4.6 million. You are stuck there. And Lattimore's a great player, and I want him on the team. Don't get me wrong. But even if you say, okay, well, that's a valuable asset we could trade and get something for. Get a first-round pick. No, you can't. No, you can't. Not with that contract. You can't. Let's look at Alvin Kamara. Looking like Alvin Kamara again, isn't he? Looking pretty good. Alvin Kamara, next year, his cap hit is $16 million. His dead cap hit is $19 million. It would cost you $3 million more for Alvin Kamara not to be on your roster than it would to have him on your roster. His cap hit next year is $16 million. In 2024, it's $16.8. In 2025, it's $27 million. What team in the NFL would make a deal for Alvin Kamara where his 2025, not this year, not next year, not the following year, but the year after that, 2025, his cap number is $27 million. Nobody. These contracts are not. You want to do another one? Let's do another one. Let's do Ryan Ramczyk. Ryan Ramczyk. Next year, his cap hit for the Saints is $21 million. Okay. His dead cap number, meaning if you trade Ryan Ramczyk, he'll count $39.9 million against your cap to not be on the roster. And here's his cap hits for the next 4 years. 21.4, 24.4, 25.4, 22.6. Like Kamara, it isn't until the final year of that deal. I'm sorry, Lattimore. It would make sense until the final year of that deal where his dead cap number is so much lower than his cap hit that it would make sense. That's in 2026. Especially your good players, their contracts, after being restructured, are so bad, nobody will take them on, and you can't afford the dead cap hit because if you trade your good players to get draft picks, your entire cap is going to be made up of dead money from a handful of players. It's literally not possible. This is the price you pay for doing business the way the Saints did. They bought on credit, and now the bill is due. And the thing they bought, they don't really like. It sucks. That's the game they played, and now they're stuck. So if you're sitting there saying, trade this guy, trade that guy, don't ever say it again. Go to your game watch this weekend, go to church with your family, whatever, Sunday dinner, and when everybody's telling that, just remember all the stuff I just told you. And you'll sound really smart at the lunch table, the dinner table, because the Saints are stuck. Your only hope of not becoming the Jacksonville Jaguars, of becoming like literally a 1-16, 2-15 type team. Because if you want to get through this, the only way to do it is to have really, really, really inexpensive players on your roster, like undrafted rookie free agents that cost you $300K, and then you stink. Then you're terrible. The only way is if Jameis Winston becomes an all-pro, gets healthy and becomes the dude that a lot of us thought or hoped he could be, or you find Russell Wilson in round 3. It's the only way. You find your franchise quarterback in an unlikely place. It's the only way that you can get out of this without having to go into the deep freeze to then build it back up. That's why I said, and will continue to say, this is the darkest time for the Saints franchise since the end of the 2005 season. A 3-13 season, vagabond, post-Katrina, not even sure if the franchise is going to be here. Will they rebuild the dome? All that uncertainty. When you hired Sean Payton, you brought in Drew Brees, you drafted Reggie Bush, everything has been ascending since then. With bumps, right? But when you look at where you were to where you are, it's a massive difference. And where you are now is that sharp decline. And you are as close to where you were in 2005 as you have been since that day today. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.